Chilwana.
I'm Labika Rawood. For more information on the work that we do and how you can help us to help others, please visit our website www.secondchances.org.za.
In Junior Achievement South Africa, its focus is really to expose youngsters within high school and out of school to entrepreneurial thinking, and ours is focused at high school from grade 10 to 12.
I'm very big on youth empowerment and making a difference and touching lives and impacting the lives of our young people. That's practically what I do with my foundation as well, and ever since I was crowned as Miss SA.
The goal of the magazine is to basically share information that will be able to assist small business owners.
You're listening to The Social Show with Viwe Chilwana
And Labika Rawood, live on brandlive.co.za.
Good morning, everybody. It is officially Monday and the start of a brand new week, start of a brand new month, and I think everybody's just excited because February was beautifully short. It wasn't like January. It was a lovely, refreshing month to just get yourself back into the swing of things, and I have to say I enjoyed it. And a lot of things are happening in the country right now, from really bad weather to there's a xenophobia situation that's happening right now, and I really hope everybody's got their right mind set right now and they are looking at it in a positive way and in a way that's going to be beneficial to everybody. Remember, we're all Africans, we're all come from the same thread, and it's very important that we always remember that. But as usual, we're going to start the day off with the news. The annual Emerging Creators Program is presented by Design Indaba and the Department of Arts and Culture to nurture new creative talent and help overcome barriers to entry for those starting out. The program was launched in 2005 to provide support, education, and mentoring for young creatives looking to get into the industry and to get industry exposure and launch their careers in design. Now, Emerging Creatives has evolved over the years in an effort to remain relevant with the changing social context, such as this year's program, which is going to be two-tiered. Wow, it's a Monday, to have a wider reach and allow more creatives to participate in varying capacities. The selection process is based on quality and originality of the participants' work and its potential to be world-class. The selected pieces are then showcased to the general public and international retail buyers and media at a national exhibition over the course of the festival. In other news, 40 emerging in other news, at the Ubuntu Awards ceremony held last week in Cape Town, Heineken South Africa, as a lead sponsor, further pledged to raise awareness on responsible alcohol consumption and road safety. The awards, hosted by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, saw government ministers, members of diplomatic corps, high-profile members from the community, and business stakeholders attend the gala event. Now, Ubuntu Awards recognize and honor South African industry leaders, organizations, and extraordinary citizens for their distinguished service and contribution to support and promote South Africa's national interests and values throughout Ubuntu Awards throughout the world. Yes, each award was given to organization or individual who, through excellence, innovation, creativity, and social responsibility and patriotism, distinguished themselves as exceptional ambassadors of South Africa. Lastly, in the news, the Uzwelo Bags initiative recently presented the Batiliers with a check of over 69,000 Rand. The Uzwelo Bags initiative, spearheaded by Expand a Sign, sees thousands of meters of their waste textile fabric donated to teams of sewers from underprivileged backgrounds to make unique and truly South African bags and earn a living that puts food on the table for the families, funds education, and provides dignity and upliftment for their communities on a long-term basis. A portion of all proceeds from Uzwelo bag sales are donated to Batilas. Now, founded in 1998, the South African non-profit company has over 200 volunteer pilots and aircrafts. It provides its beneficiaries and the public with aerial perspective of the environment and has coordinated several diverse missions throughout South Africa and Africa in support of environmental issues. Expand Assign Marketing Manager Kirsty Fonzari says they are proud to support Batelas and share their dedication and commitment to protecting the environment. For more information, visit www.uzwelo.co.za or call Kirsty Fonzari on 031 207 2327. And that concludes our news for the morning.
Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Grow! Yeah. Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bstownmedia.co.za.
Welcome back to the Social Show. As usual, we start off with the news and then we have an interesting topic. And today, I decided to speak about something a little bit different from my usual CSI rants. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I know she's going to talk about CSI. So today, I'm talking about CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, and just sort of looking at it as a whole in the beginning of the year. Sometimes we look at CSI and what works and what doesn't work. And today I want to talk about the trends that exist in CSR that will continue to, uplift and hopefully make more companies aware of the kind of social responsibility they have to their communities if they are going to be deterring or changing their environments, changing their communities, or changing the way that they understand life. Every time there's a new building, every time there's a new structure, I always wonder, especially in Joburg, Joburg is ever changing. I always wonder what length companies have gone to make sure that whatever they're doing is socially ethical, and whoever's in that space is going to be benefited, but more than that, is not going to be deterred from whatever it is they want to do because of that structure. So we always need to make sure that whatever it is that is being improved, whatever it is that is being put into South Africa, Johannesburg, all the cities, all the rural areas, is going to be conducive to the country at large. So every year it's very important that we speak about CSR in a way that is new and in a way that people understand, because I feel like sometimes it feels very dated and it sounds like you're just talking to a brick wall. But it's very important that we speak about CSR and how it continues to mature year after year and brings new, unique voices to the table, vibrant innovations, and more widespread integrated adoption among our world's most powerful companies, as well as small and mid-sized enterprises. Now, while CSR challenges remain and grow increasingly complex, 2016, I think, proved that companies cannot and will not shy away from addressing them, and that's really great. And I'm just going to talk about a few of the CSR trends of this year and last year actually, and how I think they're going to carry on in this year. And in case there was any doubt, the Supreme Court's historic decision on gay marriage confirmed that mainstream brands have no reservations about taking a stance on social justice issues. And this is great, right? Especially gay rights. Now, from American Airlines to Macy's to Jell-O, there was no shortage of brands voicing their love support for Love Wins campaign. That happened in 2015. I still remember that. But also in 2016, if you think about Black Lives Matter, which was one of my favorite campaigns, because I really saw a different way in which people were speaking about the issues going around or facing black people in America at the time. And it was so beautiful to see how brands integrated that strategy into their work and how companies and corporates were hashtagging that and had no worries about whether or not it would have tainted their brand or it would have changed the way in which their companies were being seen. In fact, I think it did a lot more good than bad, because a lot of the time when companies feel like they're integrating themselves with any kind of socially responsible campaign, they risk changing their brand and changing the way in which people see them. So it's very important that American Airlines, South African corporates, South African NGOs, South African people and companies were able to really support hashtag Black Lives Matter the same way they supported the Love Wins Matter. Also in 2016, we saw a lot more brands such as H&M, Clean and Clear, and I just forgot, I think it was Essence. I'm not really sure about the name of the makeup line that actually saw quite a few transgender models in their campaigns, and I thought that was really, really amazing. And there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be changed for brands to make the bigger leadership role, or take that leadership role into, you know, the transgender conversation. But the fact that we're starting to really incorporate different kinds of people in our campaigns, different kinds of looks, different kinds of faces, different kinds of bodies, it means that we're open to that conversation, we're open to that change in the industry. And I think that is so refreshing to hear. Also, brands took a leadership role in the idea of equality, in equality as a whole. I feel like women's issues were taken into consideration last year. I keep thinking it's last year, but it's actually this year. So in 2016, a lot of companies were able to incorporate a lot of more female driven campaigns, where you found that they weren't necessarily using, especially in advertising, and I'm speaking specifically in advertising, where you just saw women of a specific national race or a specific ethnic group being sort of grouped into an Omo ad, for instance. You saw Omo changing the way it looked at women, changing the way in which women understand clothing, understand what people deem as female issues, I suppose. And you just see a lot less stereotypes, a lot less of a really patriarchal narrative. And I find that so refreshing. So we found that a lot in 2016. For instance, I know Twitter launched a program in 2015 called Neighbor Nest that provided support for San Francisco's Central Market Street and Tenderland neighborhood communities, which provided, a lot of support for nonprofits. And it's very important that we think of places like Twitter and we think of places like Facebook, because they're very important brands, but they also brands that connect communities. So the more I feel a brand or an app connects communities, the more socially responsible they need to be, the more smarter they need to be in the way that they perform their CSR campaigns, their CSI campaigns, because they are dealing directly with the people that they're trying to fix or change, and they are dealing directly with public perception. I mean, Twitter, you can't. Twitter would not be able to go through a really bad, press situation of them not helping, or if they had an issue or a scandal, it would be very difficult for them to shy away from the limelight, is what I'm trying to say. So if you look at Twitter, you look at Facebook, you look at Instagram, you look at Snapchat, all of these really people inclusive apps and companies, you have to see they have to do much more than a normal company, because they are literally speaking to people, as I said. So you saw a lot of them coming together to come up with really great campaigns. And that's what's beautiful about it, that you can have your hashtags and support your people against xenophobic attacks. You can have your hashtags which people are, like I said, talking about on one level, talking about Black Lives Matter, talking about fees must fall on one level, but also Twitter as a brand was able to launch their own program, which I found very refreshing rather. And reflecting on CSR Trends, author and consultant Alice Akorngold talked about the rise of fairness. She said everyone can see you. You have to get it right. So transparency has become an expectation for companies today. And last year we saw more of it from luxury sector in particular. If you think about Diane Verdo Netzer, the co-founder and CEO of Positive Luxury, she explains that we really need to luxury events, pivotal events, have to be sustainable now. They have to meet with the GOP 2021. They have to meet with sustainable development goals, so that they make sure that they do the right thing, they do the good thing, and it is transparent and everybody can see. Transparency is one of the biggest issues in CSR. That is what CSR is about. Be transparent. Tell us what we're getting ourselves into as consumers, as potential partners, as potential workers, and employees, we need to know exactly what a company is doing to make sure that it's socially responsible, so that we don't get ourselves into something that we don't necessarily believe in. And I think a lot of the time people are looked at as passive, and you don't really look at your audience as a really, really important part of how you strategize as to what your CSR campaign is going to sound like, going to be like. You have to know what it is that you are saying and who you're saying it to, and you have to make sure that you're responsible for your words. And we saw in 2016 that the public had something to say. The public is so important in considering how you are going to stabilize your CSR transparency issues. You have to be very transparent. People are asking the right questions. People are on you. Journalists are on you. So you have to be transparent. And I think that's one of the biggest things that came out of last year's CSR mandate. Also, most companies understand that a collaborative approach across departments is necessary for CSR success. The smartest companies also know that collaboration outside of organizations is critical. Now, if you think about 2016, I saw a lot of companies such as Unilever, Nike, General Motors, IKEA, Tohosan, a lot of companies joined together against, a lot of different things. I know this Unilever did a brilliant campaign against hygiene and sanitation in schools, which was such a huge issue in the last year. And I think a lot of companies understood that sanitation and preserving the dignity of children in schools and people in underprivileged communities, it's still an issue. But I found that a lot of companies understood that it's a bigger issue, and we have to collaborate in order for us to really make an impact. And you saw Unilever come through with, Omo, with Lifebuoy, with Domestos, and they came together and they revamped so many toilets in and around South Africa. They also are still doing it, I know. They also, tackled the idea of sanitation. I remember last year, Sanlam was really, really instrumental in changing toilets as well, and making sure that women, children rather, have sanitary products. A lot of issues were tackled around sanitation, and I saw a lot of collaboration from the industry itself. And I think that is one of the things that makes me, sleep at night. I mean, if we're able to collaborate, and that is what CSR is, and it's so interlinked with CSI. CSR and CSI go together. So whenever you think of collaboration, when you think of transparency, when you think of things like, making sure that it's not just a PR campaign that's actually beneficial, when you think of how does your immediate community understand your brand, and are they benefiting? So sustainable goals, you're thinking about CSI and CSR in one box. You're not separating the two. And it's very important that I say that, because of course I'm looking at CSR today, but CSI and CSR go hand in hand. They help each other along the way. It's very different, because if you think of CSI, it's obviously the initiative that the company brings forth, but responsibility is another level, and it's saying whatever business we're doing, we have to make sure that it is good business. So a lot of companies came together for sanitation last year. In 2015, a lot of companies came together against climate change. I remember, the We Mean Business Coalition, which was really huge, where you saw a lot of companies coming together to make sure that people were educated about climate change, educated about how the environment is impacted if you don't recycle, how, global warming is an actual real thing happening. And it's very important that companies find that loophole and find that gap and speak on it collaboratively, so that more people can get the gist of it all. And I think also it's very important that we remember that as companies, we need to always be unique in the way that we tell our stories. Again, I say this every single time I have the chance. We are not running a PR campaign when we're talking about CSI. We are not running whose brand is better. We are running an activation that's going to change people's lives actively. And if that's not what the business you're doing it really wrong. And CSR has the same thing. Stories have always been an important part of CSR. And in 2016, companies got more creative, I think, with both content and platform, compelling storytelling with great characters, smart designs, interactive components leading to education, engaged consumers, employees who will then want to drive your CSR initiatives forward, right? We don't want to tell the same story every single day. We don't want to know, oh my word, forward, we know that one campaign that Domestos does every single year, you don't want people bored when they're watching whatever advert you're playing about helping people. You want people to always understand that you are always changing, you are always trying to do better, you're always trying to make sure that different people are included in the stories that you are telling. And I think we saw quite creative ways in which companies were starting to really be transparent in their storytelling, but more than that, create a unique story about their initiatives. I remember a few initiatives last year, like We Are Pissed Off by Domestos, which I loved, because you would have thought something totally different when you thought about the campaign. We Are Pissed Off, you'd think, this is some political rant or something, but when you got into it, you realized that it was about, fixing toilets, and that's one way of being creative in the way you tell your story. A lot of the way, also something that was kind of like for me a wake-up call, and it's not really CSR, I suppose it's CSI, but was a Dinero Ranaka situation where a girl asked her for a dress, and then she was kind of rude to the girl, but the way Twitter and people came together to help the girl, I found it so unique. And the story was not being told by some big company. The story wasn't being told by some girl in the poor area in Garangua. You had a reaction that came from such an organic plea. A reaction to the fact that a lot of girls go to their matric dances without dresses, they don't feel beautiful, and that's the one day in which they can feel beautiful. And I loved how that story played out, because everyone, it came out of a really horrible reaction from Dineo Ranaka, who is, a big celebrity, but the way in which people responded to the girl, the way in which people helped the girl, for me just showed the kind of ways in which people react to new ways of telling stories. You don't want to make people angry to react, but you also want it to be as organic as that. As organic as somebody saying something, it having a reaction on Twitter, and companies coming to aid people in that way and understanding that there's an actual gap. And the fact that it was trending for, I think, 2-3 days was remarkable to me, because I could just see a lot more companies looking at that gap and really getting into the matric dance space, and making sure that women or girls or guys who aren't able to afford that one day of celebration, that one day of your achievement being great. And I mean, remember, it all works together. Even if people don't see it in that way, it all works together. And that's why I think everything should be a collaboration. I always say everything should be a collaboration, because if I feel like somebody cares for me, and I work I go to school, and my school environment isn't that great, but I know that at least I have this matric dance to look forward to. And whenever you think about your matric dance, you think, I don't have anything to wear, I don't know what I'm gonna look like. It really does change the way in which the student feels. And when you change how a student feels, you change how they think about their futures, and how they want to do better. And when they feel like people care, I mean, most of the time you find that at home it's a different situation. They're going through so much. They're going through abuse. At school there's not enough books, there's not enough education facilities or education materials for them. And then they also have to struggle to get into university because it's so expensive. And somebody just says, you know what, there's so much I can do, but I can make sure that your matric dance day is going to be great. And that's one of the ways in which you change the way you tell your story. You change the way in which you present your CSR strategy. Remember, we're transparent, we're collaborative, but more than that, we're also unique, and we're very creative in the way that we tell our stories. And trust me, there are so many ways in which you can change. I know the Nike CSR site features interactive data visualizations and compelling content about sustainable innovations, which is something that's beautiful. Another one is Google's Made with Code initiative, which recently partnered with Pixar to launch with an interactive tutorial with Inside Out. And I think when you think of these really big brands, thinking of interactive ways to tell these stories, interactive ways to show off what initiatives they're doing, especially if it's in digital space, in like Google as well as Nike CSR sites, you see a beautiful collaboration that comes with a good initiative, good motive, but also is unique to the person who's reading about it, unique to the person who's going to get involved, and is creative creative and exciting. And that's, I think, one of the few things that you need to think about when you're creating your CSR strategies this year going forward. Be creative, be collaborative, be transparent, but also be unique. Be very unique, because things die out in a day nowadays. So you have to be very unique and very refreshing. And that, I think, changes is the end of my show today. I hope you learned something. If you are a CSR manager right now and you really are struggling to find what it is that you're going to be doing, just remember those few things, and I think you'll be on the right track. You will hear from me all again tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.